Welcome back to the wonderful shores of Australia. It's lovely to have you back here.
Yeah, thanks, Anne. It's great to be back. I've had a wonderful time. Yeah.
This is your fourth show here.
Yeah, amazing.
Time's clicked on, hasn't it?
Yes.
So Lois is over from New Zealand. Thank you for bringing your beautiful show over. I'd love you to talk a bit about this show because it's a bit different from your last three.
Thanks, Anne. And thank you for the opportunity to come and exhibit again at Timeless Textiles. It's always a wonderful experience. It's interesting that it's my fourth and that you say it's quite different because one of someone who came to the opening who has been to most of them said that she could really see the development of my work from each exhibition, and I think that's something. It's lovely to have that feedback because as an artist that's what I want to do. I want to keep growing and moving forward.
So Lois, what is different? What do you see is different with this exhibition?
I feel a little bit like I've come full circle. So even though it's quite a different exhibition, if I look back on some of the printmaking that I did back in the early 2000s, I see some of the similar. My voice is similar to that, and I have people comment on it being like stained glass art quilts or quilts, but I see it more as an extension of my lino printing designs where I would cut out the black, the white, cut out the lino, and then hand colour the lino print, and so to me it's an extension of that. It's not exactly the same, obviously, but my voice is the same. So that's what feels quite strong for me about this exhibition. It's always lovely to have a body of work that shows off a particular style. I do still like playing around with my leaves and the abstract. So that's where I guess the contrast comes in. So just taking that back a step further, when Anne asked me if I would like to have another exhibition here, I was working on Coastal Contours piece, which is was the first sort of in this series, and I like the idea. I like the word contours. I like words, and so I looked it up and I discovered the meaning of contours being just the outline of the shape of something. So to me that was quite a broad meaning or definition of contours, and I was thinking about something to go with that, and because I didn't want it just to be coastal, and contrasts, because I think there's quite a big contrast in my work. I love playing with a whole lot of different materials, so there's contrasts in materials and techniques, and there's contrasts in style. For example, the Tranquil Waters and Blue Sky Day are both reflection pieces, but they are handled very differently in terms of how I've expressed the reflections.
So before we talk about the different materials, I'd love you to use the piece behind and just talk about the technique. Like, how do you produce such a beautiful piece of artwork?
I usually start from a photograph, so I love taking photos, and it doesn't have to be a good photo, it just has to be something that inspires me. And what inspires me is usually the lines and the shapes and the pattern, often the colour as well. And so I start from a photo and I do a drawing, and I like to simplify my drawing, simplify what I see in the photo and pare it down to a very basic sort of shapes and lines, and then I expand it out when I start stitching. I then, after I've done the drawing, I enlarge it usually to the size that I want to work at, and then I audition fabrics, and mostly use batik fabrics because they are a close weave fabric, and therefore they don't fray. So the technique that I mostly use is raw edge applique. So for me it's quite important. It doesn't matter that it frays, but for me it's quite important because I like the line to be quite strong. So then I audition the fabrics, come up with the ones that I think suit the design, and start cutting.
I bet the materials are anxious when you're auditioning them. I can just imagine them all lining up saying, put your best foot forward. So some are, as you say, batik, but some you actually colour.
Yes. So I will use intense pencils or paint to change the colour if I need to, or if it needs a bit of shading. I'm very happy to do that. Sometimes I will also use some rubber stamps and print make some of my shapes. And so it just depends on what the piece requires. This piece also has some hand stitching in, and so in the last couple of years I've started adding some hand stitching because it adds a lovely contrast to the machine stitch. There's something really nice about a hand stitch line. Very simple running stitch mostly, but it just adds something different.
Your stitching is amazingly neat. I've looked at your hand stitching and it's like you've got a little ruler. It's an extraordinary ability you have because your machining in that stippling is also amazing.
Oh, thank you, Anne.
It must take you hours, Lois.
Each piece does take a long time. I don't think it's easy to put it, people ask me how long they take, and it's not easy to put a time on, as you would know, because a lot of thinking also goes into it, as well as the making. I've been stitching for a very long time, Anne. My mum taught me to hand sew when I was very little, so it's just something that I like to do, and I don't set out to make it really, really neat. In fact, I don't think it's neat. I get really surprised when people say that, but it's just something that I love to do. Just very passionate about stitching.
And in each piece, you've got such a variety of texture based on whether you've used stippling or hand stitch or machine embroidery. It's a lovely combination. It gives each of your artworks a 3D approach.
I like to think of, I've been stitching, as I mentioned, stitching for a long time, and as you know, I have previous exhibitions, there were a lot of thread paintings. I see a lot of my background in exploring textile arts as an apprenticeship to where I am now, and I have a lot to draw on. I have a lot of different techniques to draw on when I am deciding to create a piece.
And have you discovered a new technique that you haven't explored that you might just venture into, put your toe into?
Oh, that's a $64 million question. Not right now, but I do love what I call stamp and stitch. So I've been exploring. There's no examples of it here, but I've been playing with creating little rubber stamps and then incorporating onto paper, printing them onto paper, and then incorporating some hand stitching into that. And there's something very satisfying about that as well, which I would like to extend that, but I'm not sure where that's at the moment. But that's my play. That's what I do because my textile pieces take so long. The printmaking, the stamp and stitch piece is just a lovely and quick when I need a little creative fix.
And when you work, do you listen to podcasts or music, or do you really just merge in with what you're doing?
I do have music on, but it often becomes, it gets forgotten. Sometimes I listen to podcasts, but I like to concentrate on what I'm doing, and I get lost in my creating. And often the sewing machine doesn't allow me to hear it too well anyway.
Yes, those sewing machines. Lois, is there a message that your artwork is giving? You said you've found your voice with this work, and what would that voice or the message be saying to us all?
Good question. I have always talked about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, and I just think I really want people to look, to see, the simple leaf can be such an amazing shape, and there's such a variety of leaves. I have looked at how many leaf types there are in the world, and I cannot find an answer. There's a lot, I think, and I just, like a simple little island out, and take time to look at it, look at the colours, whatever it is that appeals to you about your environment. Observe, always constantly taking photos and observing what's around me. And I think it's important that we enjoy the world, the natural world that's around us.
You're certainly the master of mark making, both with your stitch, the lines, the black spaces you put between, if that's called stained glassing.
It's like a stained glass technique where they put the black line in between. But it's also, when you cut out a piece of lino, you often leave a black, or if you print it in black, you have a black and white print. And so it's an extension of techniques in other areas, I suppose. Yeah. I just want to say thanks to all the people who came to the opening. I was just delighted to catch up with so many people, and people who said they've been, following my work for a long time, and the people that I've met in the gallery as well. Unfortunately, I have to go back to New Zealand, and I can't be here to hop in and chat to people because I would love to do that. But keep creating. If you're creative, keep creating. If you support the arts, keep supporting them. And if you support Timeless Textiles, keep doing it.
Well, thank you. I hope to see you back at the beach soon. We'd love having you here.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've had a great time. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.